of the day, but just kind of looking around right now, I think we're going to see some pretty cool stuff out here today. Now, to give you a little bit of an idea about exactly what we're going to be doing, as soon as we finish pulling out of our slip here at Pier 55, we're going to go in essentially a big counterclockwise circle. So we're going to start off by heading north up the downtown central waterfront. We're going to see a lot of the cool attractions you'll find around this part of town. We'll get some nice photo opportunities as well. We're going to go right by this big Ferris wheel, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute. We're going to get pretty up close view of the Space Needle as well, as up close as you can get on the water anyway. It's a very nice view. Now, once we get further out towards the mouth of the bay, we're going to make a big wide U-turn and start heading over towards West Seattle. West Seattle is that piece of land that you can see off to the port or left side of the vessel right now, that big green hill. But definitely the more industrial portion of the tour down there. This is where the vast majority of the port of Seattle itself is located, so we're going to take a little bit of a dip into the port to see if we can find anything cool going on. There's a big shipyard down there as well. It's been doing some interesting work over the past couple of weeks. There's a big Washington State Ferry up at dry dock. It's lifted up completely out of the water. They're doing some work underneath it, which is always cool to check out, as well as all kinds of other fun stuff. Washington State Ferry is going back and forth. Pretty common to find things like tugboats and fishing vessels out here as well. So I think we're going to have a pretty good time today. Now, as we make our way up the downtown central waterfront, probably the first thing you're going to notice is the giant Ferris wheel at the end of Pier 57. This is actually one of the newest additions to the downtown central waterfront. The Great Seattle Wheel is 175 feet tall, built directly out on the ends of Pier 57 at the parts where it's closest to us, actually. That's extended out completely over the water and not over the pier at all, which is pretty cool, and what these big markers in the water signify, so that ships don't get too close. Now, still pretty new, just a little over a year old. Opened up for a 4th of July weekend last year. Rides around the Ferris wheel lasts about 20 minutes or so, and you can get some pretty nice views up at the top of that thing. Maybe something you want to check out later on during your trip. Now, the next pier up, the big blue-greenish pier, is Pier 59. Probably one of my favorite places to check out along the downtown central waterfront. This is home to the Seattle Aquarium. If you haven't thought about checking out the aquarium, if you weren't sure if you were going to go or not, I cannot recommend it enough. It is a whole lot of fun. Some of my favorite exhibits there include an inverted fish dome, where you're standing in the middle and you're surrounded by this big glass fish bowl, and the fish are the ones swimming around looking at you, which is a little topsy-turvy. But it's really immersive and it's very cool. They also have one of the most successful otter breeding programs in the country, which might just be worth the price of admission alone, because otters are just plain adorable. You can watch those guys forever. They also have a giant Pacific octopus, which is the largest breed of octopus in the world and native to these waters, as well as a newly completed harbor seal exhibit, which is actually outside. If you look just to the left of the main building, you can see a weird-looking spirally structure, and just outside of that, you can see a small crowd of people hanging out there. That's actually the new harbor seal exhibits. Now, they don't do trained acts per se, but they do have specific times throughout the day where a bunch of the aquarium staff will come through. They can introduce you to all the harbor seals. It's a really cool exhibit, and it's certainly worth checking out. Now, a little further onto the shore, above that big elevated freeway, you can see a long yellow, beige, and green building. This is a place I'm going to go ahead and assume many of you have already been to, the Pike Place Public Markets. Certainly a big spot for tourists, and I'm sure you've already figured that out. But you're going to find it to be a pretty big spot for locals as well, because those of you who have already been can attest. You can find some pretty good stuff down at the market. It is still today a fantastic spot to get locally grown fruits and vegetables, locally caught seafood, local flowers, as well as a lot of kinds of just little products that specific people really excel at. There's one stand in particular, which is my favorite stand in the market. All they do is sell fresh honey and beeswax candles, but they do both extremely well. Probably the best honey I've ever had in my life. I don't get honey anywhere else now. But lots of real good products like that, as well as things that you wouldn't really expect. The longest running comic book store in Seattle is located in the basement of the Pike Place Market as well. So there's all kinds of stuff in there. If you've been there already, I highly encourage you to go back. The stands at the Pike Place Market are leased out on a week-by-week basis, so you're always going to find someone's first time there. There's always new stuff to check out. The street performers switch out pretty much every day. It's definitely an organic experience, one that changes every time you go to it. So on concrete pier we're passing right now is home to Pier 66. This pier is actually home to the city's very first cruise ship terminal. We actually have a cruise ship in dock out here today. You can see the Regatta is in dock at the moment. Seeing cruise ships down here on weekdays is actually relatively uncommon. You'll find them scattered throughout the week, but primarily you'll find cruise ships leaving out of Seattle just on the weekends. Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays we'll get 3 departures every single one of those days during the length of our cruising season. This cruise ship terminal was built in 1996. Seattle built it under what we like to call the Field of Dreams philosophy of if you build it, they will come. They didn't actually make pre-arrangements with any cruise ship companies. They just kind of built the terminal and expected the industry to come to them. And it did eventually. It took about 4 years though. We didn't get our first departure until May of 2000. But thankfully, after that, the industry took off pretty quickly. This is today one of 2 cruise ship terminals located in downtown Seattle. We'll pass by the second one a little later on the tour and talk a little bit more about the industry then. You can probably notice tied up against the Regatta is the Nathan Schmidt. It says double hull on the side of it. This is what's known as a bunker barge. That's essentially a floating gas station. A bunker is another word for marine-grade diesel fuel. And you'll find a lot of big ships and a lot of busy ships that come through this area will use bunker barges instead of actually going to a fuel dock. It's a lot more efficient for them. They can fuel up while they're loading up passengers and just doing what they're here to do and don't have to make separate stops. Big ships like this tend to make lots and lots of money, so they don't want to take any of that time away to go to a fueling station. The next pier up is Pier 67. The great pier with the gold trim is the Hotel Edgewater. Probably